This is the EdExcel GCSE 9 to 1 Maths Paper 1 from the November 2023 series, and this paper is a non-calculator paper. Question number 1. Work out 6.3 multiplied by 2.4. To work this out, we can use the grid method. And using the grid method, we can split up the 6.3 as 6 and 0.3, and we can split up the 2.4 as 2 and 0.4. So now multiplying 2 by 6, we get 12. Multiplying 2 by 0.3, we get 0.6. Multiplying 0.4 by 6, we get 2.4. And multiplying 0.4 by 0.3, we get 0.12. And so 6.3 multiplied by 2.4 can be found by adding together the 12, the 0.6, the 2.4 and the 0.12. Now 2.4 plus 0.6, that's 3. And if I add the 3 to the 12, I get 15. And then I add 0.12 to 15, I get 15.12. So therefore 6.3 multiplied by 2.4 is 15.12. Question number 2. Part A. For the first part, write down the value of 5 to the power of 0. Anything to the power of 0 is 1, so 5 to the power of 0 is 1. For the second part of part A, write down the value of 5 to the negative 2. To work out 5 to the negative 2, we can recognize that in negative power means 1 over. So 5 to the negative 2 is the same as 1 over 5 squared. And 5 squared is 25, so 1 over 5 squared is 1 over 25. Part B, write 2 to the power of 5 multiplied by 2 to the power of 4 all over 2 to the power of 3 in the form 2 to the power of n, where n is an integer. To work this out, what we need to recognize, on the numerator we have the same base of 2, we are multiplying, so we add the powers. So we have 2 to the power of 5 plus 4 for the numerator, and the denominator remains the same as 2 to the power of 3. Now 2 to the power of 5 plus 4, that's the same as 2 to the power of 9, and we are dividing this by 2 to the power of 3. What we need to recognize here is we have the same base of 2, and we are dividing, so we subtract the powers. So 2 to the power of 9 divided by 2 to the power of 3 is the same as 2 to the power of 9 subtract 3. And so what we end up with is 2 to the power of 6. Question number 3. Part A. We have to write 156 as the product of its prime factors. So the 156, we can write this as 2 multiplied by 78. 2 is a prime number, 78 isn't, so we can further split up this 78. We can further split up this 78 as 2 multiplied by 39. 2 is a prime number, 39 isn't, so we can further split up this 39. 39 we can split up as 3 multiplied by 13. 3 is a prime number and 13 is a prime number. So 156 is the same as 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 13. Equivalently, this is the same as 2 squared multiplied by 3 multiplied by 13. Part B, find the highest common factor of 156 and 130. Well, let us find the prime factors of 130. 130 we can split up as 13 multiplied by 10. 13 is a prime number and 10 isn't. So the 10 we can further split up. We can further split up the 10 as 2 multiplied by 5. 2 is a prime number, 5 is a prime number. So 130 is the same as 13 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 5. Let's see what is common to both. What is common to both is the 2 and the 13. So to find the highest common factor, we multiply 2 by 13, which gets us 26. So the highest common factor is 26. Question number 4. The mean length of 5 sticks is 4.2 centimeters. Nawal measured the length of one of the sticks as 7 centimeters. Part A, we have to work out the mean length of the other 4 sticks. We can find the total length of all 5 sticks by multiplying the number of sticks by the mean. So the total length is equal to 4.2 multiplied by 5, which is equal to 21. So the total length of all 5 sticks is 21 centimeters. So for the remaining sticks, those would have a length of 21, subtract the 7, which is the length of one of those sticks. So the remaining sticks have a total length of 14 centimeters. We can now find the mean of the 4 sticks by doing 14 divided by 4, which is equal to 3.5. So the mean is 3.5. Nawal made a mistake. The stick was not 7 centimeters long, it was 17 centimeters long. Part B, how does this affect your answer to part A? Well, what we would be doing is subtracting a larger amount from 21, which means the remaining sticks will have a shorter length in total, which means the mean would be less. So the mean would be less. Question number 5. The point P lies on the line AB. Here is the line AB. Use ruler and compass to construct an angle of 90 degrees at P. You must show all your construction lines. Here we have our compass. Put the pointy bit of your compass at the point P. Then set the radius to be smaller than the length AP and create an arc intersecting the line AB once here and retaining the same radius once here. Put the pointy bit of the compass here. Set the radius to be greater than this length around here. Draw an arc like so. Same thing at the bottom. Draw an arc. Maintain same radius. Pointy bit goes here. Draw arc once here and once here. Now we need to connect this point with this point. We can do this using a ruler. So, joining what we can see is we have a line which is at 90 degrees to the line AB, crossing the point P as required. Question number 6. The diagram shows an isosceles triangle ABD and the straight line ABC. The length BA is equal to the length BD, and the ratio x to y is equal to 2 to 1, and with this we have to work out the value of W. Well, if BA is equal to BD and we have an isosceles triangle, we know that the base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal, which means the angle BDA is equal to x. And if we know the ratio x to y is 2 to 1, that means x is equal to 2y. Now the first thing is we can find the sum of the angles in the triangle. We've got x plus y, which is equal to 180, and that's because angles in a triangle sum to 180. And knowing that x is equal to 2y, we replace the x with 2y. So we have 2y plus y equals 180. So we have 5y equals 180, which means y is equal to 36. Now we've got the angle W and the angle Y, which sum to 180, and that's because angles on a straight line sum to 180. So W plus Y is equal to 180, and that's because angles in a straight line sum to 180. And we know that Y is equal to 36, so we have W plus 36 equals 180, which means W is 144. So we have W equals 144. Question number 7. Mano has 3 shelves of books. There are X books on shelf A, there are 3x plus 1 books on shelf B, there are 2x subtract 5 books on shelf C. There is a total of 44 books on the 3 shelves. All the books have the same mass. The books on shelf B have a total mass of 7,500 grams. We have to work out the total mass of the books on shelf A. We have X on shelf A plus 3x plus 1 on shelf B plus 2x subtract 5 on shelf C. This is all equal to 44 because there is a total of 44 books. So what we can do then is find out what x is because we have a linear equation. So let's simplify. X plus 3x plus 2x is 6x, 1 subtract 5 is negative 4, and this is equal to 44. And if I add 4 to both sides, 6x is equal to 48, and if I divide both sides by 6, x is equal to 8. We can find the total number of books on shelf A, B and C. We have x on shelf A, so that's 8. For B, we have 3x plus 1. 3 times 8 plus 1 is 25, so there's 25 books on shelf B. And for shelf C, we have 2x subtract 5, so 2 multiplied by 8 subtract 5, that's 11, so we have 11 on shelf C. Now we know that the books on shelf B have a total mass of 7,500 grams and each book has the same mass. So each book has a mass of 7,500 divided by 25, which is 300. So each book has a mass of 300 grams. So to find the total mass of the books on shelf A, we have 8 books on shelf A and each book weighs 300 grams, so we multiply 8 by 300 grams, so the total mass of books on shelf A is equal to 2,400 grams. So we have 2,400 grams. Question number 8. The normal price of a mattress is reduced by 40% in a sale. The price of the mattress in the sale is £660. Work out the normal price of the mattress. If the normal price is reduced by 40%, that means 60% is remaining. And this 60% will correspond to the £660. We have to find the normal price. In other words, we have to find out what 100% is. And to do that, we can begin by finding out what 1% is. From 60% to 1%, we divide by 60. So we also have to divide the 660 by 60, and that gets us 11. So 1% corresponds to £11. So to find 100%, we need to multiply by 100. So £11 multiplied by 100 is £1,100. So the normal price of the mattress is £1,100. Question number 9. To cook rice, the number of cups of rice, X, to the number of cups of water, Y, is equal to 4 to 5. Part A. Use this information to draw a graph to show the relationship between the number of cups of rice and the number of cups of water needed to cook rice. If the ratio of X to Y is 4 to 5, that means for every 4 of X, we have 5 of Y. That's this point here. What we need to do then is join the origin to this line and extend where necessary, as we see here. Part B, for the first part, find the gradient of the line drawn in part A. Our change in Y is 5. Our change in X is 4. So the gradient is 5 over 4. We now have to explain what this gradient represents. Well, the gradient represents the number of cups of water for each cup of rice. Question number 10. The circumference of a circle is 10 meters. Work out the area of the circle. Give your answer in terms of pi. So we know that the circumference 10 is equal to pi multiplied by the diameter. So we can rearrange to find the diameter. The diameter is equal to 10 over pi. So we can find the radius. The radius is half the diameter. So the radius is equal to the diameter, 10 over pi, divided by 2. And what this is equal to is 5 over pi. We can now find out the area of the circle. The area is equal to pi multiplied by 5 over pi squared. So we have 5 over pi squared, that's 25 over pi squared. And if I multiply that by pi, I end up with 25 over pi. So the area is 25 over pi meters squared. Question number 11. Alice recorded the number of cars going into a village on each of 80 days. The incomplete table and the incomplete box plot give information about her results. And that's what we see here. Part A, for the first part, use the information in the table to complete the box plot. And then use the information in the box plot to complete the table. The first thing we can do is find the lower quartile and upper quartile using this incomplete box plot. Here we have the lower quartile. That corresponds to 780. Here we have the upper quartile, and this corresponds to 1200. We've got the least number, which is 300. The range is 1000, and with this we can find the maximum value. The maximum value is equal to 300 plus 1000, which is 1300. So the 1300 is the maximum value. We can now complete the box plot. So we've got the least number 300. We've got the lower quartile 780. We've got the median at 900, the upper quartile at 1200, and the maximum value at 1300. if we complete the box plot like so, we end up with this here. On some of these 80 days, Alice saw fewer than 1,200 cars going into the village. Part B, work out an estimate for the number of days Alice saw fewer than 1,200 cars going into the village. Well, the upper quartile of 1,200 corresponds to 75%. So 75% of the values are 1,200 or less. And so if I work out 75% of 80, I get 60. So we have 60 days. Question number 12. The straight line L has equation 2y equals 3x subtract 7. Find an equation of the straight line perpendicular to L that passes through 6, negative 5. So, the equation of L that's given by 2y equals 3x subtract 7. Let's rearrange this in the form y equals mx plus c. Dividing through by 2, you will find an equivalent form of the line L is y equals 3 over 2x subtract 7 over 2. And from this we can spot the gradient. The gradient of L is 3 over 2, which means the perpendicular gradient is negative 2/3. Let's now consider this point 6, negative 5. We have negative 5 equals negative 2/3 multiplied by 6 plus some constants. So of negative 5 equals negative 4 plus c, so c is equal to negative 1, which means my equation of the line is y equals negative 2/3 x subtract. Question number 13. Solid A and solid B are similar. The ratio of the height of solid A to the height of solid B is 2 to 5. The volume of solid A is 12 centimeters cubed. We have to work out the volume of solid B. If we've got this ratio of heights being 2 to 5, from this we can find the length scale factor. The length scale factor is equal to 5 over 2. So finding the volume scale factor, that's equal to the length scale factor cubed. So we have 5 over 2 cubed, which is equal to 125 over 8. So we can now find the volume of B then is equal to 12 multiplied by 125 over 8. 12 over 8, that's 3 over 2, and we multiply this by 125. And working this out, we get 375 over 2, which is equivalent to 187.5. So the volume of solid B is 187.5 centimeters cubed. Question number 14. Work out the value of 27 to the power of 2/3 plus 1/2 to the power of negative 3. To work out this, let's deal with the 27 to the power of 2/3. This is the same as the cube root of 27 squared. Let's now deal with the 1/2 to the negative 3. The first thing we can do is reciprocate this. Reciprocating 1/2, that's 2, so we have 2 cubed. Now the cube root of 27, that's 3, so we have 3 squared, and we add on to this 2 cubed. 3 squared is 9, 2 cubed is 8, 9 plus 8 is 17. So the result of that calculation is 17. Question number 15. An object falls from rest. Here is the distance time graph for the distance d meters fallen by the object t seconds after it starts to fall. We see that here. We have to work out an estimate for the gradient of the graph at t equals 3. You must show how you get your answer. Well, at t equals 3, we have this point here. And what we need to do is draw a tangent at this point here. And drawing a tangent, we end up with this straight line. So we need to find the gradient of this straight line. The change in y, that's given by 87 meters. The change in x, that's given by 3 seconds. Is given by 29. Question number 16. At the start of year n, the population of a species is Pn. At the start of the following year, the population of the species is given by Pn plus 1 equals k multiplied by Pn, where k is a positive constant. The population of the species at the start of year 1 is 8 million. The population of the species at the start of year 2 is 6 million. Part A, work out the population of the species at the start of year 3. So, if we use this formula, the population in the second year is equal to k multiplied by the population in the first year. And here we're going to assume that Pn is given in millions. So, we have P2, which is 6. This is equal to k multiplied by P1, and P1 is 8. And if I solve for k is equal to 3/4. So to find out what P3 is, P3 is equal to k, which is 3/4, multiplied by P2, which is 6. 3/4 multiplied by 6 is 9/2. So the population is 4.5 million. At the start of year 5, the value of k is increased by 0.3 to a new constant value. Louise thinks that from the start of year 5, the population of the species would increase year on year. Is Louise correct? You must give a reason for your answer. Well, our new k, that will equal this 0.3 plus the 0.75, which is the value of old k. 0.3 plus 0.75, that's 1.05, and because this is greater than 1, we can say that Louise is correct, and that means that the population will increase. Question number 17, part A, factorise 6x squared subtract 5x subtract 4. We require two numbers which multiply to give 6 multiplied by negative 4, which is negative 24, and which add to give negative 5. Those two numbers are 3 and negative 8. So we can rewrite 6x squared subtract 5x subtract 4 as 6x squared plus 3x subtract 8x subtract 4. And if we factorise the first two terms, we would have 3x multiplied by 2x plus 1. And if I factorise the next two terms, we would have negative 4 multiplied by 2x plus 1. And so if we factorise by grouping, we have 3x subtract 4 multiplied by 2x plus 1. So 6x squared subtract 5x subtract 4 is equivalent to 3x subtract 4 multiplied by 2x plus 1. Part B. Hence or otherwise solve 6x squared subtract 5x subtract 4 being less than 0. If I set this equal to 0, we can find our critical values. The critical values are x equals 4/3 and x equals negative 1/2. And if we draw a diagram, such as the one we see here, the values that we require are in between negative 1/2 and 4/3. So we have negative 1/2 is less than x, which is less than 4/3. Question number 18. Spinner A and spinner B are each spun once. The probability that spinner A lands on red is 1/4. The probability that both spinner A and spinner B land on red is 1/24. We have to work out the probability that one spinner lands on red and the other spinner does not land on red. Well, we know that the probability that both spinner A and spinner B land on red is 1/24. So the probability of red from A multiplied by the probability of red from B is equal to them both being red. So we have red A being 1/4 multiplied by red B. We do not know what that is yet. And this is equal to 1/24. So the probability of red from B is 1/6. Let's now construct a tree diagram. We've got spinner A, where we've got the probability of red being 1/4, so the probability of not red is 3/4. And then for spinner B, the probability of red is 1/6, so the probability of not red is 5/6. The probability of red is 1/6, the probability of not red is 5/6. So the probability we require is one spinner lands on red and the other does not land on red. So that is red followed by not red plus not red followed by red. So probability of red, that's 1/4, multiplied by probability of not red, that's 5/6. Or we could have probability of not red, which is 3/4, multiplied by probability of red, which is 1/6. Now the common denominator over here will be 4 times by 6, which is 24. And for the numerator, we've got 1 multiplied by 5, which is 5, plus 3 multiplied by 1, which is 3. So our required probability is 8/24, which simplifies to 1/3. Question number 19. Here is the graph of y equals sine x degrees for x being in between -180 and 180. That is shown here. Part A, use the graph to find estimates for the solutions of sine x degrees equals 0.3 for x being in between -180 and 180. Our first step is to draw the horizontal line of 0.3, which is shown here. We've got one intersection point here, which is at 18. To find the other intersection point, we need to do 180 subtract 18, which is 162, and that's through symmetry. So we have 18, 162 for our estimates of the solutions of this equation with these conditions. Part B, write down a value of x such that the sine of x plus 20 degrees equals 0 for x being in between -180 and 180. Let's first of all consider the solutions of sine x degrees equals 0. Where the graph equals 0 is here and here, which means x is equal to 0 and 180. And because we have sine of x plus 20, we have a translation by vector -20 in the x direction and 0 in the y directions, which means we need to subtract 20 from each of these. Meaning, if sine of x plus 20 degrees equals 0, then x is equal to 0 subtract 20, and x is equal to 180 subtract 20. So we have -20 and 160 for the solutions of this equation with these conditions. Question number 20. Here is a triangle ABC. We have to find the size of the angle ABC. You must show all your working. ABC is this angle here. Let's label it X. We've got the length AB being 10 centimeters, the length BC being 5 centimeters, and the length AC being 5√7 centimeters. To find out what X is, we've been given 3 lengths, so we can use the cosine rule. So we have 5√7 squared equals 10 squared plus 5 squared subtract 2 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 5 multiplied by cos x. 5√7 squared, well, I've got 25 multiplied by 7. So that's 175, and this is equal to 10 squared, which is 100, plus 5 squared, which is 25. And we've got 2 times by 10 times by 5, that's 100, so we subtract 100, and we multiply by cos x. We can rearrange for cos x. If I do 175 subtract 100 and then subtract 25, I end up with 50. And 50 divided by -100 is -1/2. So cos x is equal to -1/2, which means x is equal to 120. So I've got 120 degrees. Question number 21, part A. On the grid, draw the graph of x squared plus y squared equals 169. The first thing we need to do is recognize that this is a circle with a center at the origin, and we need to find the radius. The radius is the square root of 169, which is 13. So if I draw a radius of 13 as we see here, and then draw my circle, what you can see is we've got the graph of x squared plus y squared equals 169. Part B, use your graph to find estimates for the solutions of the simultaneous equations x squared plus y squared equals 169 and 2y equals 3x. Well, if I rearrange this 2y equals 3x, I would have the graph of y equals 3x over 2. So if I draw this graph, I've got the graph of y equals 3x over 2, or equivalently 2y equals 3x. Now, where this straight line intersects a circle is here and here. First of all, I've got this point here, which is negative 10.8 and negative 7.2, and the other solution is over here, and the solutions there are 10.8 and 7.2. So these are the solutions to the simultaneous equations here given as coordinates. Question number 22. The second term of a geometric sequence is 3 plus 2 root 2. The third term of the sequence is 13 plus 9 root 2. We have to find the value of the common ratio of the sequence. Give your answer in the form a plus root b, where a and b are integers. You must show all your working. The first thing we can do is find the common ratio, and the common ratio is equal to the third term divided by the second term. So we have the third term, 13 plus 9 root 2, divided by the second term, 3 plus 2 root 2. And we have to rationalize the denominator. So I've got 13 plus 9 root 2 over 3 plus 2 root 2, and I'm essentially going to multiply this by 1. And when I say multiply by 1, I'm going to multiply both the numerator and the denominator by the conjugate of the denominator. That is to say, we multiply the result here by 3 subtract 2 root 2 over 3 subtract 2 root 2. It's as though we are multiplying by 1. So now let's multiply the terms. 13 times by 3 plus 13 times by negative 2 root 2 plus 9 root 2 multiplied by 3 plus 9 root 2 multiplied by negative 2 root 2. So that's what belongs on the numerator. And for the denominator, we've got a difference of 2 squares. So we've got 3 multiplied by 3 subtract 2 root 2 multiplied by 2 root 2. So let's simplify this as much as we can. 13 times 3 is 39. Then we subtract from this 13 times by 2 root 2, which is 26 root 2. We add on to this 9 root 2 multiplied by 3, which is 27 root 2. And then we subtract from this 9 root 2 multiplied by 2 root 2. So we've got 18 multiplied by 2, which is 36. So that's what belongs on the numerator. And for the denominator, 3 multiplied by 3 is 9. We subtract from this 2 root 2 times 2 root 2. Well, I've got 4 multiplied by 2, which is 8. So let's simplify this as much as we can. 39 subtract 36 is 3. And then we've got negative 26 root 2 plus 27 root 2, which is just root 2. So that's what belongs on the numerator. And for the denominator, we've got 9 subtract 8, which is 1. And 3 plus root 2 over 1 is just 3 plus root 2. And therefore, the common ratio is 3 plus root 2, which is in the form a plus root b.